Party people, hello, welcome back to another episode of Peanut Butter Neya Time. You're here with me, your host Neya. All right, so today my topic is all about how I am really not an actor. And I'm going to delve into my recent experience and why I definitely have confirmed this is just not my space. And it's quite a funny story. Before I get into that, I would just like to put a PSA out there. If you have any accounts online, remember to change your password like every 6 months, even 3 months even. And two-factor authenticate everything, people. Because I had a friend who just recently got hacked on Instagram and they were able to hack into his email. And because Instagram's connected to your Facebook, it also hacks your Facebook. And now he can't access any of his email, his Instagram, his Facebook, and his number is now connected to some other ladies like Facebook. It's just wild. So cybersecurity is a huge issue. And I was talking to a friend about how like cybersecurity is only getting worse, like more critical, especially as we move into AI and like Web3, having like everything two-factor authenticated and like specially made passwords on certain platforms is super important. So make sure you guys are just really putting up a good defense for all of those hackers out there because they are serious and mean business. All right, so back to my topic of the week. Okay, so I feel like this pod really goes back to knowing your strengths, knowing what you're good at, and also just, playing to your strengths. But I also think this podcast does speak to being curious enough to try new things. And boy, oh boy, did I try new things recently, my friends. So, short story is she casted for a role, guys. She casted for a role in a TV ad. Since when am I an actress? I don't know. Was I just having fun with it? Yes. But let me delve further into this. Okay, first of all, my biggest role as a child in the acting space was definitely in a school play. So I went to two different high schools when I was younger. I went to this first high school that was public, and then I went to a private high school. So most of my high school was at this public school, and they had this awesome like dance and drama culture. So we every semester, well, there was like 4 terms in a school year in Australia, and 2 of those terms they would have essentially like these 2 really big performances. So one was like dance drama, so that included dancing and like acting, and then one was singing. It was a choral, so it was mainly singing, and it was a competition, inter-house competition between all of the like houses. So there were 4 houses in my high school, and people, I don't know how they built this culture. It was amazing. I absolutely loved it, but people just got so into it. And being a house captain, like you was only 2 house captains per house, it was such a big deal. You had to, choose the songs, you had to choose a solo artist, you had to choose a small group. Like these were like a very big deal at my high school. And I don't know how they built that culture to be that way, but it was so much fun. And then they would have like, so what we'd do is we'd have a series of nights, maybe 2 weeks, where we would perform and parents could come and watch. And then they'd have the last performance on the last day of school for that term, which was epic. And it would be an inter-house competition, and they would bring an external judge in. And it was so much fun. Like, I remember we would be like, everyone would, even if you're not involved, everyone would go and watch, and it was just so much fun to watch. And then they would have all these different chants. And the talent was really amazing. Like, I think our school was quite large, so we had probably like 180 girls per year level. And so, yeah, the involvement was like awesome. The amount of talent was like crazy. So you had to audition there was a small group, there was a solo artist, and then there was big group. Big group was like anyone could do it. It's just for any layman to just like sing, and just, you would do like one big singing performance together. And then the solo artist, I think, sung like 2 or 3 songs, and then a small group sung maybe 2 songs. But amazing, loved it. And then that was chorals. And then dance drama this was actually crazy when you think about it. Like the school captains had to write a script for a play. So there was an arts captain who set out what the theme was for the year, and then the house captain, would write a script and like develop the whole thing. amazing, honestly. And I remember the year that I was like really, okay, before we get there, but the year that I was like super involved was a year that we won, and we had just like such a good, I don't know, we just had such good like artistic and creative people. They just came up with amazing ideas. And then once again, people had to like audition for acting roles, etc. So one of the years, had a role in the school play. I had no dialogue, no dialogue. I just had to walk across a scene, looking around like a tourist, and then out of the scene. And I remember even that I felt so nervous with all the spotlights on me. And I feel like at that time I was like, you know what? I don't think acting is for me. Acting is just not my forte. But on top of that, she did actually audition for roles with words and didn't get chosen into school plays. So I think that's when I knew that acting was not my strength. And so I became really involved in like props and costumes, which is just so iconic. So I was doing like back of house, helping them build all the props for like the school play, helping carry them on, like doing backstage crew, like where you wear all black and you're just like not seen, you move things in and out, doing the lights and stuff. But it's so funny because I think that's like from a young age, you learn to know what your strengths are, play to them, and don't mess about, you know? So I feel like acting was always something that I was just like, you know what? Not even dreaming of trying to be an actress. But do I still think I could be a pop star? Most definitely. And I think pop star would be, like being a singer would be my gateway into becoming a good actress, because I think eventually I would learn how to like be a bit more performative. But I still think that I could be a singer one day out there in the ether. But anyway, I knew in high school that I was just not an actress. And so then also I have a presence on social media and YouTube. And I think when I first started YouTubing, it took a while to get comfortable in front of the camera. And that's why I think now people are like, oh, you're so confident when you speak. And like, how can you have a podcast all by yourself for like 30 minutes? And like, how are you so okay with seeing yourself? And I was like, yeah, initially when you first start filming, you're definitely a bit like taken aback. You're like, it's so cringe to watch yourself on video. But honestly, after hours of editing yourself, you just get used to it. And you're like, you know what? I am awesome. And then you develop this like inner self-confidence. So I feel that YouTube really helped me to become more confident in who I am as an individual and like knowing what works for me. Because I think if you're able to be comfortable with seeing yourself in all the lights and all angles, you just get so used to yourself. There's like nothing really that much to hate anymore, because you're like, well, it is what it is, just accept it. So yeah, because I have social media, I am really used to making video content, and so my personality, I think, on video and social media has always been very consistent. Like, it's still me. It's not like I take on an alter ego. But I think there are like other creators who definitely take on like a different personality when they do social media or sort of video creation, whether or not that's on purpose or whether or not that's like just their alter ego. But because I don't have that, I am just like who I am. So I guess once again, it's not like I honed any acting skills from being good at it on social media. So I think that's why I'm quite good at social media and like my space, is because it is just my personality. It's just who I am. But what I've realized is I felt like maybe there was a bit more transferable skill between social media and potentially being an actress. But I've realized, guys, it's just not. It's a very different space. So let me get into the story of my casting. So I used to model, and when I did modeling back in the day, I would go to casting calls, but they weren't for acting. It was like, okay, walk down this runway, like see if they like want to use you in a runway show, which is very different because you don't really need to like necessarily put on a face or anything. And so I had done casting calls in that context, but I think as well, when I was doing those casting calls when I was younger, I was very nervous because you're vulnerable. You don't know what to expect. You've never done it before. I don't think I had a strong sense of who I was. I was like 19. And so it was a lot more daunting. And I didn't honestly really want to do it, but I was like, you're out there supposed to try to model, so you should probably try and do this casting call. Whereas this time, most recently, I got this random email from a lady asking me to do a casting call for this ad. And I was like, this is so random, but you know what? I'll try it out. And I've got to say, it was a very humbling experience. So we like negotiated all the stuff, and then she was like, okay, we'll do this casting call. Like, can you come in? And I was like, oh, sorry, traveling. So can come in and like, can do it on Zoom. So we did this casting call on Zoom. And I was given a brief of like, this is the emotion you're supposed to feel and like show on your face. There was no dialogue. So I was like, okay, I think I can do this. I think I've got this. It's only facial expressions. I feel like my face is relatively expressive. So I felt confident, but I also didn't really think too much and like wasn't very nervous about it because I felt that, it was a weird difference. Like I felt like I was more confident in myself now at this age, that I didn't really feel like super nervous about it because I was like, oh, I have a lot of things going for me. If it doesn't work out, it's fine. And I also have this like motto in my mind. It's like, I am who I am. And within this time, can I really train myself to be any better than I already am? Not really. So based on that, I was like, I'm just going to give it the best I can, because what you get is as good as it's going to get, my friend. So I read the brief and then I was like practicing. And let me just show you this video, guys. Like I was like practicing. It's so funny. Watch this video. Look at the, I'm just going to post it up on here, but the video is just so good. I just laugh at myself. Just like the trying to be expressive, that little face, looking around. She really thought she was nailing it. She was feeling confident, guys. Anyway, so then the next day comes and then it's the casting call time. And I was like, you know what? I think I got this. But then when you get on the Zoom call, it's very different. Really hard to like express yourself over video. And when you haven't done it before, you're not very well trained. But I had 3 tries, and I've got to say, as soon as that call ended, I was like, yep, she did not get that. And I wouldn't say it was like terrible, but I would say it was not good. And I realized that it's really hard to be an actress. And why I say that is because I think my face is expressive. Like now I can make all these faces and be like, what? Like, huh? And, like when I make a video on Instagram, I can make like, I'm very expressive with my face because it comes naturally. But when you're asking me like on demand, okay, feel this way, like show a glimmer of hope in your eyes. I'm like, girl, I have no idea how to do that. I was like, it was just painful. It's on demand. It's just not possible. So then I decided that actually acting is quite difficult. And you really need to be like well trained in it or have a natural flair in acting, which I do not have. On top of that, I watched this show recently called The 3-Body Problem. And I think from my casting experience now, I value acting a lot more. Like it's made me more receptive of good acting and bad acting and how hard it is to act out a certain scene. Because I think when you watch TV shows, you really take for granted like the amount of training and expertise that goes into those people's roles and like their experiences and skill set. Like that's why it's so hard to be an actress, because there's so many people who think they can do it, but they really can't. And so when I was watching this show, I was like, oh, I can tell where the acting is really not good. And you can tell like the expression doesn't really change and it's not varied. There's no like small little quirks or nuances in the expression that change and indicate whatever emotion the person's feeling. And then when I was watching this show, I think the actress Augie is pretty average. She just has like one mode and it's just angry and frustrated. And I was like, oh my gosh, I feel like if I was an actress, I would be her. One expression, just like not very good at varying the emotions on my face. And I feel like that is who I would be as an actress. And then it made me think that actually, because Augie is very good looking, if you're just good looking, maybe you can just get these roles. Like, I would just like to say Henry Golding, not a good actor at all. Should have probably stuck to that travel host life. But I guess if I was him, I also would have gone down the acting route, because man's got a few roles. Like, he got a few roles, even though he's really not a good actor, but purely just because he's Asian and they needed a token Asian, and he's good looking. So you can actually get quite far in acting without being super talented. But to be a well-respected actor and to have a longevity in your career, I think you actually need to be super talented, which I never thought otherwise of. I just think now I can very clearly distinguish between a good actress and a bad actress, or actor. So it was really enlightening for me. And I would say generally it was just a very humbling experience. I think sometimes you think that something is a lot easier than it is, and then you try it and you're just like, mad respect for those people out there. So from this, I felt like I wanted to share this experience with you guys, because yes, I am not an actress, and no, I don't have any skill set. Nothing was indicating to me that I could do well at this. I don't even think I went into it thinking, yeah, gonna get it. I think it was more just, why not try? So I think that it's going back to what I said at the start. I think it's good to know your strengths and kind of stay in those lanes, but also stay curious enough to try new things, and push yourself out of your comfort zone and don't be afraid, to fail. And this is what I talk about, like in other podcasts, about, you have a level of calculated risk. Like, what are you really going to lose from that experience? Okay, I went into that call, the casting call. I tried my best, even though my best wasn't very good. And yeah, it was a little bit embarrassing. But at the same time, I was like, I'm never going to see you again. I don't really know you. Best case scenario, for some unknown reason, you choose me. Worst case scenario, you don't choose me and my life doesn't change, because I'm not out here trying to be an actress. I'm just out here having fun and trying new things. So I think you take the calculated risk based on your circumstances, environment, and like, what do you really have to lose? For me, it was very low stakes. It was just for fun, a bit of character building. And now I feel like I know what those people experience going into a casting call. And so it gives me even more perspective to learn and understand other people. So if I was to meet an actress or an actor out in the world, I would have a lot more empathy and respect for what they do and how hard that slog is, because in my 5 minutes of experiencing that, you went through many emotions. You were like, ooh, yes, no, defeated, deflated, hopeful, so many emotions. So I could only imagine what somebody feels like making that their full-time job and battling through that industry. So yeah, I hope you guys were mildly entertained by my video of me trying to apply for a casting role. I wouldn't say that I wouldn't do it again. I honestly would try again, because maybe I would get better at it. But once again, I think I might have to do a bit of training and conditioning. But thanks for listening to the pod. I hope this encouraged you guys to get out there and try something new, do things that kind of scare you, because as long as, it's really not affecting or hurting other people or yourself, what have you got to lose? Just try it out, have some character building, and move on. Anyway, thanks for listening. I will chat to you in the next pod. Bye.